At her son's birthday celebration, the mother-in-law tapped her wine glass with a fork. "Here's my Seryoja," she proclaimed, "a real man. He provides for this one, and he pays the bills." Sergey glanced at his wife, then sheepishly buried his face in his phone, well aware of whose card actually covered their entire extravagant charade. This story serves as a stark illustration of what happens when angelic patience finally reaches its breaking point. The door remained stubbornly shut. The key was stuck fast in the lock, as if whispering a warning. "Vika, don't go in there. It's the same old circus." Victoria sighed, adjusting the strap of her heavy bag, which contained 2 laptops and the quarterly reports. With a determined twist, she forced the metal mechanism and the lock clicked open. From the depths of the apartment, a scent wafted out like a blast from a scorching oven, a complex mix of expensive perfume, heavy, cloying floral notes, and the aroma of roasting chicken. Tamra Ilinichna's voice, her mother-in-law's, boomed over even the refrigerator's hum. "A man must be a provider. See my little Seryozha, he's a rock, says it and does it. I tell him, 'Son, my back aches.' And he's not immediate. 'Mom, no waiting in line at the clinic, only private care.'" Victoria froze in the hallway, her shoes still on. She slipped them off, placing them neatly on the shoe rack. Her feet ached. 12 hours on her feet. Audits at 3 branches of the shoe chain where she worked as a regional manager, a skirmish with suppliers, a cashier's breakdown, the disappearance of 3 boxes from the summer collection. She craved silence and a glass of kefir, but home was a scene of extravagant celebration. In the living room, sprawled across her beloved beige sofa, sat Tamra Ilinichna. She wore a leopard print blouse that cost half of what Vika's cashiers earned. On the coffee table nearby, a cup of coffee steamed, the very beans Vika had brought back from a business trip. Sergey, her husband, occupied an armchair, engrossed in his smartphone. He meticulously feigned studying stock market quotes, though Vika caught a glimpse of the familiar green tanks on his screen. "Oh, the working woman arrives," Tamra Ilinichna exclaimed, clapping her hands together, her gold bracelets jingling. "Sergey and I were just discussing renovations at my dacha. He promised to handle the roof entirely. My golden child." Vika slowly walked into the room, feeling a taut steel string vibrate within her. "Hello, Tamra Ilinichna. Hi, Sergey." "The roof? Interesting." Sergey flinched, attempting to hide his phone, but didn't look up. "Yes, Mom, we'll discuss it later." Vika was exhausted. "She's tired," her mother-in-law scoffed, taking a sip of coffee. "Everyone works, Vika, but not everyone forgets their family while doing so. Look at Sergey toiling away like an ox, yet he finds time to call his mother, to send her money. And you? I haven't been able to reach you for 3 days to ask how to set the washing machine to the delicate cycle." Victoria walked to the kitchen in silence. She needed a drink of water. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the cold fury that rises when witnessing blatant injustice, yet being unable to counter it with irrefutable facts. The kitchen was a disaster zone. A mountain of dirty dishes choked the sink. Tamra Ilinichna loved to cook but loathed to clean, referring to it as creative chaos. On the counter sat an empty box of imported cheese and a bottle of wine that Vika had been saving for a special occasion. "Sergey," she called softly. Her husband appeared in the doorway a second later. He looked guilty, like a puppy caught in mischief. Tall, fair-haired, with a gentle handsomeness that had begun to soften with age, a softness that would have continued to mellow without effort. Sergey had no time for sports. His life was consumed by projects. "Vika, what are you starting?" he whispered, glancing towards the hallway. "Mom arrived as a surprise." She's stressed. Her blood pressure is up. I didn't want to upset her." "Did you promise her the roof, Sergey?" Vika turned on the faucet, watching the water cascade onto a dirty frying pan. "The roof at the dasha. That's at least 200,000. Where will that come from?" "Well, I was thinking, maybe from your bonus. Or we could take out a loan. I've got a startup brewing. Some guys called about a startup." Vika turned off the water. The silence in the kitchen became deafening. "Sergey, you've been finding yourself for 6 months. Your last earnings were 3,000 rubles for setting up a neighbor's router. You live off my card. You eat my food. You wear my clothes. This bottle of wine, also my money. Quiet down," Sergey pleaded, lunging towards her to embrace her, but Vika dodged him. "Mom will hear. She has a heart condition. She's proud of me. Is it that hard for you? I'm trying, maintaining my image. If she finds out I'm having temporary difficulties, she'll tear me apart. This way, everyone's happy." "So, it's about image, and who's going to pay for the roof?" "Your image." "Well, Vika, we'll figure something out. You're smart, driven, a manager." From the living room, Tamara Ilinichna's voice called out, "Seryoja, where's the dessert? I saw cake in the fridge. Well, bring it already." Sergey snatched the cake box from the shelf, the one Vika had bought yesterday for her colleagues, and rushed back to his mother, plastering on a successful businessman's smile as he went. Victoria remained standing by the sink. Her gaze fell upon Vatman, their plump cat who sat by his bowl, looking at her reproachfully. The bowl was empty. Even he forgot to feed him, this businessman. Vika whispered, scooping food into the bowl. In that moment, watching the cat crunch his kibble, Victoria knew. Enough. The temporary difficulties had dragged on for 2 years, ever since Sergey had been laid off from his sales manager position for laziness and playing games at work. He had transformed into a professional mimic of industrious activity. Vika wasn't a monster. She loved him. Once he was cheerful, caring, greeted her after work, but comfort had corrupted him. Sergey had grown accustomed to the refrigerator filling itself, bills paid via auto debit set up by Vika, and money simply appearing in her account. For Tamara Ilinichna, a legend had been crafted. Sergey was a financial risk consultant, working remotely on serious projects with significant profits, but tied up in investments. Vika had remained silent, not wanting to embarrass her husband. "Fool," Vika muttered. "Vika!" her mother-in-law shouted. "Come have some tea. Stop hiding in there." Victoria wiped her hands, adjusted her hair, and went out. The next 2 weeks passed as usual. Sergey continued to play his role. Tamara Ilinichna departed, but promised to return for her son's anniversary. 35 years old. "It's a milestone birthday. We must celebrate it grandly," she declared before leaving, taking a bag of groceries with her. "It'll just go to waste with you anyway. You're always on diets." Victoria began her preparations. First, she deactivated her secondary card, the one Sergey had. That evening, her husband rushed to her, eyes wide. "Vika, what's wrong with the card? The chip didn't work at the gas station. I had to pay cash. I gave them all I had." Vika sat at her laptop, reconciling figures in an Excel spreadsheet. The expiration date must have passed, or the bank blocked it due to suspicious activity. What activity? "I just wanted a full tank and coffee." Precisely, the bank was surprised that an unemployed person was filling up with premium gasoline. She didn't look up from the screen. "Very funny. Give me yours." "I have a meeting tomorrow." "I can't, Sergey. We're having an audit at work. All accounts are being checked. Even employees' personal cards are monitored for illicit income. We're temporarily switching to a strict economy mode." Sergey turned pale. "How long will that last?" "Until the audit is complete. A month, maybe 2. But what about the anniversary? Mom invited guests. Aunt Galia, Uncle Pasha, Ira, and her husband. We'll celebrate the anniversary at home, modestly as a family. You'll earn the money for the feast from your startup, won't you? Sergey swallowed. Of course I'll earn it. It's just that the funds might be delayed, the disbursement, you understand. Victoria nodded, hiding a smile. Then we'll wait for the disbursement. The days leading up to the anniversary became hell for Sergey. Vika watched this unfold with grim satisfaction. The familiar routine had collapsed. The refrigerator, instead of Jamin and steaks, now held buckwheat chicken soup bones and carrots. Vika, what is this? Sergey poked a cutlet with his fork, a concoction of 80% bread and onion. This is our crisis menu. Student cutlets. They're tasty, but I'm used to beef. Beef, my dear, is expensive, and your disbursement still hasn't arrived. By the way, your mother called, asking if you'd transferred the money for her medication. I told her you were busy, working on the project of the century. Sergey choked on his tea. What did you tell her? That you're working? Don't worry, I didn't give you away, but she's expecting 5,000. Sergey began pacing the apartment. Vika knew he would call his friends, but Sergey's friends were either fellow financial consultants with empty pockets or people he already owed money to. 3 days before the birthday, Sergey attempted to get a job as a courier. Vika saw his yellow thermal bag hidden on the balcony behind some old skis. He worked for exactly 1 day. That evening, he came home limping, claiming an old injury had flared up. The bag vanished. Vika never saw any money. It had likely gone to pay off debts or for beer to relieve stress. Mom said she'll bring her pickles, Sergey announced grimly at dinner. She thinks we'll be serving caviar. Vika, do something. I'll be humiliated. You'll be humiliated? Vika looked at him calmly. Sergey, just tell the truth, Mom. I'm temporarily broke. She'll understand. She's a mother. You don't know my mother, he wailed. She's told everyone how successful I am. Aunt Galia, the neighbor. If she finds out about me, about us, she'll eat me alive. Vika, give me the money. I'll pay you back. I swear, from the first pension. No, Sergey. The day arrived. Saturday. The apartment buzzed with activity from early morning. Tamra Ilinichna was the first to arrive, bringing not only her pickles, but also an air of thorough inspection. She roamed the apartment, running her finger along the shelves. Dust, of course, was found, and she commented on everything. My little Seryoja, why are the curtains so dull? I saw gorgeous velvet at the salon. It would suit your study. Sergey had no study. His office was a corner of the bedroom with a computer desk. Mom, minimalism is in vogue now, the birthday boy grumbled. He was wearing an old shirt because Vika hadn't bought him a new one, and the one his mother liked no longer fit his growing belly. By 5 o'clock, the guests had arrived. Aunt Galia, a robust woman with a voice like a Jericho trumpet. Uncle Pasha, a quiet man who immediately bonded with Vatman the cat and disappeared onto the balcony to smoke. And a couple of distant relatives Vika had seen only twice before. The table was set strangely. In the center sat magnificent platters of cold cuts, shrimp salads, red fish, and expensive cognac. Sergey beamed. The previous day, he had finally managed to wheedle in advance from Vika. Or rather, Vika herself had bought the groceries. Fine, she had said yesterday. I don't want the guests to starve. I'll buy everything myself, but remember, this is a loan. Sergey was so happy he didn't notice the nuance in his wife's tone. The main thing was the table was set, and his mother was pleased. Oh, Seryoja! Aunt Galia exclaimed, piling a third piece of fish onto her plate. "What a spread! You can tell a real man of the house. Not like my good-for-nothing. He can't even earn money for a can of sprats." Tamra Ilinichna shone like a polished samovar. She sat at the head of the table. Instead of the birthday boy, she yielded the seat to her right to her son, sitting herself to his left, like a queen mother. "And what did I tell you, Galia? Upbringing. You reap what you sow. My Seryozha has been responsible and generous since childhood." Victoria sat at the far end of the table. She ate little, observing. She wore a simple black dress, minimal makeup. She was a shadow at this feast of vanity. Sergey had already downed 3 shots and relaxed. The legend was working. His wife was silent. There was food. His mother was praising him. Life was good. "And do you remember, son, how you sent me 100,000 right away for my teeth implant?" Tamra Ilinichna asked loudly, ensuring everyone could hear. "I told the dentist, my son is paying. He's a businessman." The dentist almost dropped his instruments. Sergey choked on an olive. He remembered that moment. Vika had forgone a seaside vacation to pay for her mother-in-law's dental work. Sergey had told his mother, "I earned that." "Yes, Mom, I remember," he mumbled, avoiding his wife's gaze. Vika slowly twirled a glass of water in her hands. "And the gift?" Tamra Ilinichna persisted. "Galia, did you see the phone he gave me for New Year's? The latest model. I was afraid to even touch it." "The loan, which I only paid off last month," Vika noted mentally. "Let's drink to Sergey," Uncle Pasha said, returning from the balcony and raising his glass. "May he have plenty of money. May his wife love him, and may he not forget his mother," Aunt Galia added. They drank and ate. The general merriment escalated. Sergey grew bolder. He leaned back in his chair, winked at Aunt Galia, and launched into a tale about how he'd handled customs issues just last week. Vika knew this story. He was recounting the plot of an action movie he'd watched until 3 a.m. And then Tamra Ilinichna stood up. She tapped her fork against a crystal goblet, demanding silence. "Dear guests," she began solemnly, her face flushed, her eyes glistening with proud emotion. "I want to say the most important thing. We live in difficult times. Men today have become weak, but not in this house." She placed her hand on her son's shoulder. Sergey straightened up, pulled in his stomach. "Here is my Seryozha, a real man." The mother-in-law's voice rang with pathos. "He provides for this one." She waved a hand dismissively towards Vika, as if gesturing at a pet, "and pays the utility bills for me, and helps me, and never refuses me anything." The guests murmured approval. Aunt Galia nodded. Vika felt as if she'd received an electric shock. All the exhaustion, all the unpaid bills, all the evenings she'd worked for 2 while he played video games, it all condensed into a hot lump in her throat. "What's there to even talk about?" Tamra Ilinichna continued. "I calculated it. He spends more on the 3 of us per month than some people earn in a year. Gold, not a son." Vika slowly rose from her chair. The clink of her fork against a plate sounded like a gunshot in the ensuing silence. "Pays? Are you kidding?" Vika's voice was quiet but icy. It cut through the stifling air of the room. "Mother-in-law, you live off my money." Sergey turned pale. His face, previously rosy, instantly became ashen. "Vika, don't," he croaked. He immediately buried his face in his phone, pretending someone had urgently texted him, a classic ostrich pose. Then Vika announced loudly, "No, Sergey, your phone won't help you. Tamra Ilinichna, you love facts, don't you?" She grabbed her smartphone and, before anyone could react, projected the image via IOP Play onto the large television on the wall. The screen illuminated. It was an online banking application. Look, Vika approached the television like a lecturer at a blackboard. Here's the transfer to you, Tamara Ilinichna. For your teeth, 100,000. Date. Sender. Victoria Smirnova. Here's the payment for the utilities for your apartment last month. Sender. Victoria. Here's the receipt for this lavish table, paid with Victoria Smirnova's card. A silence fell over the room, heavy as a tombstone. The only sound was Uncle Pasha loudly swallowing. And here are your son's earnings. Vika swiped across the screen, opening his card statements, which she had access to. Deposits for the last 6 months, 3,000 rubles from a certain Oleg, 500 rubles, debt repayment. And oh, look, transfers from me, marked for cigarettes and for travel. Tamara Ilinichna stood frozen. Her gaze flickered between her son, the screen, then Vika, then the screen again. Her mouth fell open, but no sound emerged. The myth was crumbling. The great provider, the financial titan, the pillar of the family, was transforming into a common gigolo before the eyes of an astonished audience. This must be some kind of mistake, Aunt Galia whispered. No mistake, Vika said sternly. Your real man has been living off my neck for 2 years. He doesn't work. He plays video games and lies to you. And as you so eloquently put it, he doesn't provide for this one. This one provides for him, for you, and for this cat. That man the cat, hearing himself mentioned, meowed loudly from under the table, confirming his mistress's words. Sergey. Tamara Ilinichna's voice trembled. The pride was gone. Steel resonated in her voice, a steel that had chilled Sergey's bones since childhood. Is this true? Sergey shrank back into his chair. He was red, sweaty, and pathetic. Mom, it's a complex scheme. I channel money through Vika, taxes, you understand? Offshore accounts. Offshore. Tamara Ilinichna slowly approached her son. She was a woman of the old school. She could forgive poverty. She could forgive foolishness. But she could not forgive being made a fool of in front of people, and she hated lies. Tamara Ilinichna's swing was formidable. A resounding slap echoed through the apartment. Sergey clutched his cheek, nearly upsetting the shrimp salad. Offshore! His mother shrieked, causing the glass in the cabinet to rattle. You lie to your mother. You climbed onto your wife's neck and dangled your legs. I didn't raise you like this. Mom, calm down, her blood pressure, Sergey yelped. To hell with her blood pressure. Tamara Ilinichna grabbed a napkin from the table and threw it at him. Look at yourself. You invited Aunt Galia, you invited me. You set the table at someone else's expense. A lord, I'll die of shame now. She turned to Vika. Vika braced herself for an attack. She expected her mother-in-law to say she was to blame for spoiling him, or that she shouldn't humiliate her husband. But Tamara Ilinichna suddenly deflated. Her shoulders sagged. She looked at Vika not as an adversary, but as one woman to another, with understanding and a kind of melancholic pity. Forgive me, Vika, she said hoarsely. I didn't know. I truly believed. I thought a man had grown up, but this is what grew up. She jabbed a finger towards Sergey, who was trying to become invisible. And for this, forgive me. My tongue is my enemy. You are a golden girl to have tolerated this. Then she turned back to her son. Her eyes flashed lightning. So, Mr. Businessman, the party is over. Tomorrow you hear me, tomorrow you go to work, and I don't care where, be it a loader, a janitor, or cleaning toilets. Mom, what toilets? I have a higher education. You have a higher degree of impudence, Tamara Ilinichna barked. If I don't see a work certificate and your first paycheck within a week, I'm moving in here. I'll make your life so miserable that the army will seem like a vacation. You know me. I gave birth to you, and I will re-educate you." The guests sat in silence, afraid to move. Uncle Pasha carefully poured himself some vodka, drank it, and wiped his mouth with his sleeve. The scene was epic. The evening ended abruptly. The guests dispersed quickly, sensing the awkwardness. Aunt Galia, as she left, whispered to Vika, "Hang in there, girl. You did well to speak up, or you would have died with him under a bridge while he was cooking up his projects." Tamara Ilinichna remained overnight in the kitchen, on a folding bed. Vika stayed in the living room clearing the table. Sergey sat on the balcony, smoking, nervously flicking ash downwards. He didn't dare enter the room. He knew something had died today. His sweet life had died. Vika scooped the remnants of the salad into the trash can. Vatman approached and rubbed against her leg. Vika crouched and petted the cat. "Well, shaggy one? It seems there will only be one mistress in this house again, and it's not Tamara Ilinichna." The balcony door creaked. Sergey entered, smelling of cold and tobacco. His cheek was still red. "Vika," he began softly. She straightened up and looked at him. Her gaze held neither anger nor triumph, only a calm, businesslike certainty. "Tomorrow at 8, Sergey. Get up. Gas stations are hiring operators. I saw an ad. Shift is 24 hours on, 3 days off. The salary isn't much, but it's honest." "To the gas station, Vika? Seriously?" "Absolutely. Either the gas station or—" She nodded towards the kitchen, where Tamara Ilinichna was rustling on the creaky folding bed. "Mom moves in with us. Choose." Sergey sighed. Living with his mother in the same apartment, given her current mood. "I understand. The gas station." He trudged dejectedly towards the bathroom. Vika walked to the window. The city sparkled below with lights. Out there, in those lights, thousands of women carried the burden of their husbands, children, and mothers-in-law, afraid to say a word against them, afraid to shatter fragile peace. Today she had shattered peace, but at least now she stood on solid ground, not on a swamp of lies. And you know what? It felt good. She looked at her phone screen. A notification from the bank. Cashback credited for purchases in the supermarket category. Vika smiled. "We'll manage." She turned off the light in the living room and went to bed. Tomorrow was a new day, and tomorrow Sergey would wake up to an alarm clock. This was the best victory she could have imagined. Such is a story with a just conclusion. As they say, you can't pull the rope forever. It will eventually break. It's good that the heroine found the strength and courage to put an end to this theater of the absurd. If you or someone you know has experienced similar situations, please share them in the comments below the video. Take care of yourselves and value your labor. All the best. M.